am Mila Eldridge, your county clerk. I am excited to welcome you to poll worker training this year. This year we are introducing Indy Votes. This exciting initiative will increase voter turnout for Marion County. To accomplish this, we are making voting in 2019 faster, easier, and more convenient than ever before. Starting this year, Marion County voters will be able to vote at any vote center on Election Day. To make this possible, the paper poll book will be replaced with the electronic poll pad. The poll pad will allow our poll workers to access every registered voter within the county quickly and easily. The new voting equipment will make your job easier. It will also help a voter to get through the line a lot faster. And most importantly, it gives a voter the freedom to vote anywhere within Marion County. While the new technology is great, we will need you, our dedicated election workers, to make it successful. You are the face of Indy Votes. Thank you for attending this training session, and thank you for helping us improve how Indy votes.
Indy Votes, making voting in Marion County faster, easier, and more convenient. It's a big change, and you're a big part of it. Together, we're going to increase voter turnout and strengthen the voices of Marion County voters. Let's start by introducing you to some of what's new this year. The first thing that's new is that this training has been shortened and improved. You're welcome. But here's what's new to the voters. Indy votes anywhere now. Voters can cast their ballots at any of the vote centers across Marion County. Now that's convenient. If your usual location has a huge line, you can simply go online and find another location. On your way to or from work, out running errands, we are making it easier for more people to vote. Indy votes faster now. Using new iPad technology that we'll introduce you to later, we will now be able to check in voters with a scan of an ID. The poll pad quickly finds the voter and identifies the correct precinct. Just like that, they have the appropriate ballot and they're ready to vote. Not every voter will be able to scan to check in, but the majority who can will save themselves and us a lot of time. And Indy votes easier now. All Marion County voters will now be completing their ballots on the express vote machines. These easy touchscreen voting machines were previously only used for voters with disabilities, but now everyone will be using them, with your help of course. And don't forget to show the voter how they can make the text larger and easier to read. It's a good question. With the implementation of a new system, it was necessary to change the names of the positions in the vote center. There are only two titles now. First, there is the Vote Center Inspector, and there is only one of these assigned to each vote center. In the past, there was an inspector assigned to each precinct, so there were often multiple inspectors within a single vote center. Now there's only one. And everyone else will officially be called Vote Center Clerks. This title now encompasses the duties previously assigned to judges and clerks. As a Vote Center Clerk, you will be able to perform any responsibility that may come up during Election Day. You could be checking people in on the poll pad, assisting voters at the express vote, monitoring the DS200, or any other task. You might even be moved during Election Day to another vote center that needs your talents more. If you haven't been there already, check out the new election worker portal at pollworker.indy.gov. In the past, you had to get all your information either at a training session like this or through the mail. Now everything you need is right at your fingertips 24/7. Log into the portal to find training materials and videos, resource guides, schedule, announcements, and more. In your resource guide, you will find a copy of this infographic which shows what the old polling stations look like, followed by what the new vote centers will look like. Let's do a quick overview. Before, voters had to vote in their specific polling location in their specific precinct. Now, any voter can vote at any vote center, regardless of their precinct. Before, we checked in voters by looking them up in the precinct poll books. Now, we check voters in by scanning their IDs or looking them up in the poll pad. Before, we gave precinct-specific ballots to each voter. Now, we enter the voter's code on the express vote and the correct ballot is immediately loaded. Before, there was one express vote machine per location used for voters with disabilities. Now, there will be multiple express votes based on the expected voter volume at each vote center. Before, each precinct had its own dedicated DS200. Now, there will only be one DS200 at each vote center, and all ballots cast there are fed into the same machine. Those are the major changes for this year. There's a complete list in your resource guide, which reminds me, you will not be handling absentee ballots anymore. That will all be handled at the election center. You're welcome again. So that's what's new this year. IndyVotes is a big improvement. It's going to change the way Marion County votes. And not only is it going to make voting faster, easier, and more convenient for the voters, it's going to be faster, easier, and more convenient for all of you serving in the vote centers. Thanks again for your service.
To prep for Election Day, there are a couple of things that you will need to do as a vote center inspector. First, you'll need to pick up your inspector supplies at one of the same 4 convenient locations that have always been used. Those are listed in your resource guide. Now that's where you'll pick up this, your inspector kit. Open it at your earliest convenience and make sure it contains all of the items listed in your resource guide. If you're missing any items, contact the election board. Review the binder inside your kit. It contains the keys to your polling equipment, credentials for your poll team, the Secretary of State's handbook, and other forms and resource materials. Along with your kit, you'll receive your ballot transfer case. It is imperative you do not open the ballot transfer case prior to Election Day. Your inspector kit also contains contact information for your vote center team and your vote center location. The day before the election, you have some calls to make. First, contact each member of your poll team, and if your polling place allows, schedule a time for them to meet you later that night to set up. Call your polling location to confirm the building will be unlocked both that evening for setup and the next day at 5 when you and your team will arrive. Now let's look at what will be going on the day before the election.
It's Election Eve, the night before the election. Your vote center team will want to do as much preparation as possible to reduce the work you have to do on election morning. 5 a.m. comes pretty early. First, arrange the voting equipment and furniture in your vote center. Also, make a note of how the room was arranged when you got there, so you can be sure to leave it the same way you found it. You'll want a layout that provides a logical and smooth flow of voter traffic, like this example. The goal is to create a clear and open design from the check-in at the poll pad, to the voting on the express vote, to submitting their vote in the DS200. More instructions and a copy of this example can be found in your resource guide. Most importantly, to ensure we provide complete accessibility to voters with disabilities, you will need to establish your voter accessibility station with the adjustable height table. Next, prepare the poll pad area. Open the green poll pad case, which was locked in the DS200. From the case, remove and set up the following. The poll pad stand. While you assembled this the night before, the poll pad itself must remain locked in the ballot transfer case until Election Day. Next, the poll pad printer. Place it on the table and plug it in. Insert the power cord into the back of the printer with the arrow facing up. The power cord has a sleeve and its flat part should be facing up. Plug the power cord into an outlet and turn it on. Finally, remove all the other poll pad items from the poll pad case and place them on the table. The iPad charger, the MiFi unit, and the clear ID holder and styluses. Next, you should get your express vote machines set up the night before. Start by unsealing the black padded bag and place the seal into a zipper bag. Do not remove any seals from the machine itself. Remove the machine and place it face down on the table. Insert power cord into machine. The flat side of the power cord sleeve should be facing the top of the machine. Pull kickstand out all the way and plug the power cord into the outlet. Do this for all your express vote machines, including the one at your accessibility station. Set up the DS200 the night before as well. First, select a location near an electrical outlet and easily accessible from all express vote machines. Set the brakes on the 2 front wheels. Plug in the machine and leave the back panel open, but do not turn on the DS200 until Election Day. Last, hang all the posters, including the Voters' Bill of Rights, which were provided in your inspector kit. Hang them according to specifications listed in your resource guide. Finally, the inspector should look through the inspector kit and binder to ensure everything is in place for the next morning. That's it for Election Eve. Remind your Vote Center team to be there the next morning at 5 a.m. sharp. Make sure you have made arrangements for food and drink. And go home and get a good night's sleep. You'll need it.
Election Day at last. As promised, your Vote Center team should plan to arrive at 5. Inspectors who are unable to serve should call the hotline immediately. If an inspector has not arrived at their Vote Center by 5 a.m., a clerk should call the hotline immediately. Well, it's time to get to work. A couple of clerks can begin by placing signs and accessibility items outside, things like ramps, cones, and parking signs. Place your official voting site sign outside your Vote Center and define the start of your shoot by hanging the No Campaigning sign 50 feet from the entrance to the room where people will vote. Be sure to enforce this state law throughout the day. Do not let people campaign or hand out flyers in the shoot area. It's time to set up the voting equipment. Plug in and turn on the MiFi. Hold the power button for more than 5 seconds. If your poll pad is not transmitting a signal by 5:30 a.m. on Election Day, you will receive a call from the election board to help resolve the situation. Inspectors, it's time to open your sealed ballot transfer case. Inside, you will find express vote ballots and the poll pad. If either of these are missing or incorrect, call the hotline immediately. You'll start with the poll pad. Every Vote Center will have at least one poll pad. We'll show you the process for setting up the poll pad, and if you need more detailed instructions, refer to your resource guide. Take the poll pad in the bubble pack from inside the ballot transfer case. Now attach the stand to the poll pad. Attach the clear ID tray with the arrow facing up. The stand should be able to rotate 360 degrees to allow the voter to sign in on the screen. Plug in the poll pad and keep it plugged in as much as possible during Election Day to preserve battery power. Turn on your poll pad by holding the power button until the Apple logo appears. Tap the P on the screen and the details of the election will appear. 2 logins and 2 passwords, one from each party, are required to start the poll pad. You'll find these on the key lanyard luggage tag where you found the election code. Finally, select the printer icon in the upper right corner of the screen to print a test ticket to ensure the poll pad is communicating with the printer. Again, if your poll pad is not transmitting a signal by 5:30 a.m. on Election Day, you will receive a call from the election board to help resolve the situation. Your poll pad is now ready to check in voters. If you have any questions or difficulties setting up or starting your iPad, refer to your resource guide first, and if that doesn't solve your problem, call the hotline at 327-2000. Next, you'll start up your express vote machines. Again, we will show you the process from start to finish. If you need more detailed instructions, they have been provided in your resource guide. Your express vote machine should be set up and plugged in from the night before. If they are not, you can find instructions in Video Module 3 or in your resource guide. Start by removing the seal on the left panel and using the barrel key, open the panel. Make sure that the mode switch is set to voter, then turn the power on. Carefully close and lock the panel. Ensure that any cords coming out of the panel are fed through the notch in the door and are not pinched by the closed door. It might take up to 5 minutes for the screen to appear. Be patient. Do not touch the screen until the keyboard appears. No matter what the machine tells you, it does not need to be calibrated. When the keyboard appears, carefully and slowly enter the election code that you'll find on the key lanyard luggage tag from your inspector's kit inside the resource binder. Then press Accept. Verify that the correct election date has appeared on the screen and press OK. When the express vote is ready, you'll see the screen that says, "To begin voting, insert your card." Remember, do not open either the right side panel or the front panel with the images on it. That's it! Your express vote machines are ready for voting. If you have any questions or difficulties, refer to your resource guide first, and if that doesn't solve your problem, call the hotline at 317-327-2000. Each vote center will have one and only one DS200 machine to officially record all the votes cast on Election Day. Start by making sure the DS200 is in place and lock the two front wheels. Use the flat silver key to check that both front bins are empty. Remove any items that might have been stored there. Using the same key, open the back panel and plug the power cord in. Leave the back panel open for ventilation. To turn on your DS200, remove the plastic seal and place it in the zipper pack. Open the latches and use the barrel key to unlock and raise the screen. The DS200 will automatically power up, but be patient, it may take up to 2 minutes. Once the screen has loaded, enter the election code found on the key lanyard luggage tag. Press Accept. The DS200 will automatically run a configuration report, which you can keep in your binder or store with your Zero tape. Verify that the election date on the screen is correct. Press the green Open Polls button. The DS200 will automatically begin to generate a Zero tape. The Zero tape gets signed at the bottom by all poll workers present during printing. The Zero tape then gets sealed into the Zero tape envelope that goes inside the red bag. If you need to generate additional Zero tapes, refer to your resource guide or Video Module 6, Unique Scenarios. Now, press the green Go to Voting button on the screen. When the screen says, "Welcome, please insert your ballot," the DS200 is ready to go. Remember, if you have any questions or difficulties initiating any of the voting equipment, refer to your resource guide first, and if that doesn't solve your problem, call the hotline at 317-327-2000. Inspectors, you'll have some administrative duties to attend to before the polls open. You and your team should sign all necessary oaths and affidavits, which you will find in the back of your resource guide. Take an inventory of all your vote center supplies to be sure you have everything you need. And finally, pass out the credential lanyards to your team. Speaking of your team, each vote center will be staffed with one inspector and as many clerks as are needed to handle the expected voter traffic at your vote center. For specific duties of inspectors and clerks, refer to your resource guide. And finally, you'll need to keep track of all visitors to your vote center. The only people allowed inside the vote center are voters and people with the proper credentials. Watchers, appointed by the parties, can observe and ask for a public vote count, but must not observe any password entry or interfere with voters. Media watchers must have special credentials issued by either the election board or the Secretary of State and will have received specific instructions about what they can record and photograph. Outside the vote center, which also means outside the 50-foot shoot area, people are permitted to distribute campaign materials and conduct exit polling. Voters are allowed to bring campaign materials into the vote center to assist them in voting. Don't forget to remove any campaign materials left by voters from your voting room throughout the day. And as always, if you have an emergency of any kind, call 911 immediately. That's everything you need to know to get your vote center up and going on Election Day. Next comes the most important part of all, serving the voters. The #1 priority of Indy Votes is making sure the Marion County voters have a great experience voting. This means you're there to help in any way possible with a smile on your face. It's all about the voters, and Indy Votes means we are all voting faster, easier, and anywhere in Marion County.
Serving the voters. This is what Indy Votes is all about. Giving Marion County voters a faster, easier, and more convenient way to make their voices heard. And each of you is the face of Indy Votes. It starts when you welcome the voter. Greet every voter with a smile and check them in on the poll pad. Whether you scan their driver's license, search for them on the poll pad, or accommodate them some other way, your service shows them that their vote matters. There are a few things to look for when checking ID. You'll need to check the photo, expiration date, and voter name. Indiana state and federal IDs are acceptable, but not from other states. Refer to your resource guide for specific information. Voters who are unable to produce a valid photo ID are permitted to vote provisionally. Provisional ballot envelopes and instructions are available in the provisional ballot envelope in the inspector's kit. When checking in voters with the poll pad, there are 2 ways you can do this. We'll show you both ways in this video. For more detailed, step-by-step instructions, refer to your resource guide. The first and fastest way to check a voter in is by scanning their Indiana state ID. After tapping Scan Barcode on the poll pad, you'll place the ID in the tray so the barcode can be scanned. Ask the voter to verify their registration address is correct. If it is, have the voter press Address Unchanged. You will then verify all the information on the Verify Voter Information screen is correct. If it is, press Accept. For a primary election only, have the voter select a party ballot or nonpartisan ballot, if applicable, then press Accept. Instruct the voter to sign on the line provided with either the stylus or their finger, then press Done Signing. Once all the information is confirmed to be correct and the voter's signature is also confirmed, you'll press Submit and return the voter's ID. Now, 2 poll workers must initial the back of a blank Express Vote ballot card. Give the initialed ballot, poll pad ticket, and voter's ID to the voter to take to the Express Vote, where another poll worker will assist with activating their ballot. If a voter's information is incorrect, call the Election Board hotline to determine whether the voter qualifies to complete a VRG 412 and vote normally. If not, the voter will need to be processed as a provisional voter. The other way to check a voter in, using the poll pad, is by manually searching for them. After entering at least the first 3 letters of the voter's first and last names, press Search, and the poll pad will display a list of all names matching that criteria. Select the correct name from the list and continue to check in the voter using the normal procedure. If the voter's name is not found or their information is incorrect, call the Election Board hotline to determine the next step. If a voter requests assistance voting, you'll have to complete a Pre-3 Affidavit of Voter Assistance, which you will find in the back of your resource guide. A voter may only have assistance if they have a disability, are unable to read or write English, and request the assistance before they reach the Express Vote machine. Once the voter has been checked in, they take their printed poll pad ticket, blank ballot, and proceed to the Express Vote machine to make their selections. Remember, the Express Vote doesn't tabulate votes. It just creates the ballot, which is then tabulated by the DS200. A vote center worker must activate the Express Vote machine before it can be used. First, the voter or a poll worker inserts the ballot into the Express Vote with the notch in the top right corner. Next, using the information from the voter's printed poll pad ticket, the clerk will enter the correct 4-digit precinct selection. This machine is not like a smartphone. You and the voters have to press deliberately when making selections. Then select the voter's precinct split if applicable, the voter's party choice for this primary, and if the voter requires a ballot for a 17-year-old. After verifying the proper precinct selection was chosen, press Activate. After the poll worker has made these selections and pressed Activate, the voter can then privately mark their ballot. The poll worker will keep the printed poll pad ticket, mark it with a marker, and place it in the poll pad ticket envelope.
In your reference guide, you'll find a list of ExpressVote quick tips that will come in handy when assisting voters. It lists common issues that voters have when using the ExpressVote machine, and tips on helping them with issues like navigating with the Next button, recognizing review screens, printing their ballot, voting straight party, and more. You definitely want to familiarize yourself with the list.
A big benefit to all voters is the ability to adjust the contrast and text size on the ExpressVote. This will be helpful to point out, especially to voters who have voted on paper ballots their entire lives. Voters with disabilities may vote at the ExpressVote setup on the adjustable height table. In addition to display adjustments, the ExpressVote offers voters with disabilities multiple options, including compatibility with SIP and PUF devices and audio ballots for voters with visual disabilities. To provide an audio ballot, you will simply plug in the headphones and, if requested, hand the Braille keypad to the voter. For more information on functions and features of the ExpressVote, refer to your resource guide. Once a voter has completed their ballot in the ExpressVote, the voter presses Print Ballot Card and takes it to the DS200 to be officially submitted. Ballots can be fed into the DS200 in any direction, front, back, top, bottom, and the voter must feed it into the machine for themselves.
That's the voting process. For those of you who have worked with us before, you're going to find that it is a faster and more convenient way to vote. And that's what IndyVotes is all about, making voting a great experience for everyone in Marion County. Remember, if you have any questions or difficulties with any step of the voting process, refer to your resource guide first. And if that doesn't solve your problem, call the hotline.
Okay, let's face it, as much as we would like Election Day to come off without a hitch, there are always going to be some unique situations. Let's take a look at some of these. Most of the issues you will have will be with checking in voters. The new poll pad technology will help with many of these issues, but some can't be avoided. No record found. If the poll pad does not find a voter record, you will need to do an advanced search from the voter lookup screen. Search by date of birth, address, and other information. If your advanced search still produces no results, you will need to call the Election Board hotline to determine how to proceed. Absentee ballot issued. If the poll pad finds a voter to whom an absentee ballot was sent, it will need to be noted on the screen next to the voter's record. Select the voter's record, then follow the prompts for this voter. Voters who have been issued absentee ballots must either surrender them before they vote or vote provisionally after completing a pre-5 form found in the back of your resource guide. Absentee ballot received. If the poll pad finds a voter who has already completed and submitted an absentee ballot, the prompt will instruct you how to process the voter. The only way this voter can vote is through a provisional ballot. Provisional ballots are cast as a last resort by voters without ID who can't be located in the voter registration system, who have changed names or addresses, and a few other scenarios. Your resource guide contains complete instructions on how to determine if a voter is eligible to cast a provisional ballot and the procedure to take. For any voter you think might be a provisional voter, call the hotline to determine if that voter is eligible to vote normally or provisionally. No poll worker should ever turn a voter away. If it is determined that a voter must cast a provisional vote, you don't check them in through the poll pad. You use one of these provisional ballot envelopes. The voter must complete most of the envelope, as well as a poll worker who must fill out some information as well. The voter then completes their ballot on the ExpressVote. When the ballot is complete, the clerk applies a provisional sticker to the back of the ballot and seals the ballot inside the provisional envelope. Provisional ballots are not fed through the DS200. They are stored in the red bag and returned to the election board in the ballot transfer case at the end of the day. After completing their provisional ballot, give the voter a copy of the Pro 9 instructions, which informs them of their rights and the steps they will need to take for their provisional ballot to be counted. Take your time. Provisional ballot paperwork must be completed precisely. You'll find a detailed step-by-step process for this in your resource guide. It's good to familiarize yourself with this procedure prior to Election Day. Here are a few more scenarios that may come up at your vote center. Once a voter has been checked in through the poll pad, they may not leave and re-enter the facility. The only exception is for members of a public safety team or members of the military who had to leave the site in an official capacity. If a voter informs you they have changed their name since last voting, manually search for them in the poll pad using their old name. If you find them under their old name, help them complete a VRG 412 form, and then check them in under their old name and allow them to vote as usual. If a voter informs you they have changed their address since last voting, they still may be able to vote using their old precinct. For any voter who has changed addresses, contact the election board hotline to determine how to proceed. Sometimes voters change their minds. If you have a voter who changes their mind after completing a ballot on the express vote, you will mark their ballot spoiled. Tear through the barcode portion of the ballot and place it in the spoiled ballots envelope. You may then initial a new blank ballot for the voter. If you cannot get the DS200 working, or if it goes down during the day for some reason, do not let that stop voting. First, call the hotline for help. Next, open the upper bin of your DS200 and fold the flap down, and instruct voters to place their completed ballots into the slot. These ballots will need to be fed into the DS200 later in the day. A zero report can only be printed at the very beginning of the day prior to any ballots being fed into the DS200. If a properly authorized watcher requests an extra zero tape first thing in the morning, go to the DS200 menu, select Report Options, and run zero tapes. Remember, if you have any questions or difficulties with any step of the voting process, refer to your resource guide first. And if that doesn't solve your problem, call the hotline at 327-2000. And most importantly, do everything in your power to make voting as easy and fast as possible for the voter. That's what Indy Votes is here for.
"6 p.m. comes around quicker than you think. Now it's time to close up the vote center and let the election board go to work counting votes. At 6 p.m., declare the polls closed. Any voter who is not voting or in the chute at this time should not be allowed to vote. If there is a line of voters waiting, station a vote center clerk at the end of the line to mark the last eligible voter. Make sure only properly credentialed people remain in the vote center. After the last voter has exited the vote center, you can begin your shutdown procedures. Start by closing down your poll pad. After you process your last voter, find the check-in count at the top of the screen and enter that number on the ballot accounting certificate sheet, which can be found in the back of your resource guide. Power off the poll pad by holding down the power button until prompted to slide to power off. Slide the bar to the right, and the poll pad screen will turn black. Place the poll pad and MiFi in the bubble pack and then into the red bag. The poll pad itself is the only piece of equipment that gets returned on election night. Return the stand, printer, and supplies to the poll pad case, and place the poll pad case back into the DS200 storage area. Don't forget, the poll pad printer also has a sleeve to pull back to remove it from the machine. To shut down the express vote machines, open the left panel using the black barrel key and hold the switch off for about 5 seconds. Close and lock the panel. Unplug the machine and lay it on its face. Push the kickstand down and slide the sleeve back on the power cord to remove it. Note, the cord will not release unless the sleeve is pulled back. Refer to your resource guide for instructions on breaking down the express vote machines and storing them in a secure place. Shutting down the DS200 is a little more complicated. You will find detailed instructions in your resource guide. Always start by checking the upper bin for unvoted ballots and feed them through the DS200. Next, you'll need to run a totals tape. Start by removing the sticker seal on the media bay panel and unlocking it with the barrel key. Once inside, push the Close Polls button. Then touch Close Polls on the DS200 screen and the totals tape will print. Be sure to have the totals tape signed by the inspector and at least one clerk. Then place and seal it in the totals tape envelope and place that into the red bag. If you need to print extra copies of the totals tapes, refer to the instructions in your resource guide. This is important. The DS200 must be completely shut off, with the screen black, before removing the media. If you remove the media before that, the media will be corrupted and vote results will be lost. Press Finished, Turn Off on the DS200 screen. Once the DS200 is completely off, remove the media stick from the DS200 with the Don't Forget Me tag and place it into the bubble pack and then into the red bag. Follow the instructions in your resource guide for closing and securing the machine itself. Finally, lock, seal, and leave the DS200 and express votes in a secure location at the vote center where you found them. There are several forms you will need to complete and put into the red bag. The ballot accounting certificate, the Pre-10, which is the inspector's affidavit, the Pre-2, which is the statement of expense. Make sure all poll workers complete this form, especially those that work a half day. One person is permitted to mark cell phone reimbursement to receive the $5 cell phone stipend. And the Pre-1, the Vote Center Oath Book, which should be completed at the start of the voting day. All these and other forms can be found indexed in the back of your Vote Center resource guide. Be sure to write legibly and follow the instructions. Errors can result in delays to your pay, and you don't want that. You're almost done. The last thing to do at your Vote Center is pack it up. Here's your final packing list. The red bag, sealed. Do not put the red bag in the ballot transfer case. The ballot transfer case, sealed. And your inspector's poll kit. Before you turn off the lights and head out the door, take one final look to make sure the location looks the same way it did when you first got there. All the trash needs to be in proper bins, all election board materials together, and tables and chairs should be placed in their previous locations. Now you can turn out the lights and head off to the last stop of the day. Make sure you deliver these 3 items: the red bag, the ballot transfer case, and your poll kit. Remember, do not put the red bag inside the ballot transfer case. If you are missing items, you may not be able to check in to your regional site. If you can't make it before then, you will need to deliver your materials to the Election Service Center on East Washington Street. And with that, your Election Day duties are complete. And if we haven't said it enough already, thank you for being a part of Indy Votes. Together, we are making voting in Marion County faster, easier, and more convenient.
That concludes your Indy Votes training. Hopefully, you're as excited as we are about all the changes designed to make voting in Marion County faster, easier, and more convenient. It's a big change, and we appreciate you being a part of it.
Thank you for attending this training and for serving the voters of Marion County. On behalf of the Marion County Election Board and the voters of Marion County, thank you.